There was a question, and I offered to give my feedback, or at least a couple of talking points from my perspective. So I'm going to read a little bit about little bit of what he wrote, and then address it from my point of view. So he said, and I'm just going to read word for word. Marie and I were talking the other night about what the use of standing and walking analysis is for. If there's no ideal and we can't reliably trust or know what is right, mechanically, does what we see have value? So I think that's very important. It's a very important topic, and I think it's a necessary conversation that we need to have as SI practitioners. And I think before we even talk about it, I think we have to also talk about what we believe SI is. And a lot of what we do really falls in the realm of art or craft. Right now, there is science behind a lot of gait analysis and movement and screenings and stuff like that. But really, when you look at the SI world, we are still firmly in the world of craft, in the world of art, which is great, in my opinion. I love it. One thing that comes to mind when I think about gait analysis and the value of it, I also compare it to functional movement screenings, which is within the world of selective functional movement assessment, where they are really trying to create a structure. And in the SI world, I don't think that we have had that much structure before. So when I've tried to look at and think about SI within my world, within my context, and I think about analysis, one thing's for sure, I don't look at static, I look more at movement. And another thing is for sure, I really think about that topic of conversation of what is ideal. And when I think about movement and ideal movement, I have to go back to how we behave and how we moved as children. And if you look at the 4 to 5-year-old, that to me is closest to ideal, at least if someone who's highly functional or in that age range. That to me is closest to ideal as far as movement. And I'm not talking toddler. Toddler was different. That's a different type of movement compared to the highly functional use of spinal engine that a 4 to 5-year-old starts to show and exhibit. So, if we want to compare, that would be a good comparison point. Of course, it's not perfect, but if you want to look at ideal, that might be an ideal way of looking at someone, comparing someone. So I believe there is value to looking at someone and walking, and if you want to compare to some ideal, I think that would be interesting gauge. Not the gauge, not the only way, but it would be an interesting way, an interesting model to compare it to. The other thing, in my personal experience as a client and practitioner, I sense it does. The other thing is, are we simply asking the client to pay attention to their felt sense and movement? What is it we practitioners think we see? I have to wonder if what I think I see isn't simply a reflection of sympathetic tone, which disrupts timing or motor control and a level of ease, comfort, and fluidity. So I think it serves a purpose, just not a biomechanical one. So I think that is an interesting model. Again, that's an interesting model to place and to think about when you're analyzing someone. I think there can be other models that you can use to look at someone within the analysis of gait. And just to throw it out there and to offer it up, within the Morales method, we do have a particular model that we use, and we are influenced by the stages of motor development in babies and how that creates themes of movement throughout the stages of development. And these themes of movement really fall within certain planes. So we use that whole structure to create a model by which we can body read, can assess, and eventually then can work on someone. So to put it a little more simple, when we develop, we have particular moves at particular stages, and we've noticed that these moves are really centered along certain themes. For example, very early on there's flexion, and then eventually there's sideways movement, then eventually there's some transverse movement, and then eventually there's rotation in the spinal engine. So those themes create planes that we call planes that happen in certain order that we call the order of complexity. So then we start to analyze based on the order of complexity, and then we also then start to work based on the order of complexity. And again, it's a model. It's something that we use. It's something that I've used pretty well in my practice. So it's something that I've offered up in my training. So, that's one way of looking at it, and that's why I wanted to put this video together to offer it up to Ray as another potential talking point. So, for those of you that are watching this on the Morales Method Forum, feel free to ask questions if you have any questions, and look forward to hearing from you, and hope you guys are having a great one. All right, bye.